get it figured. Our next commission meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, June the 17th at 9 a.m. Any issues with that? All right, give you a legislative update. We've had three bills I know that came through. We had the House Bill 602 and then the Senate Bill, I think it's 2963 or 23, I can't remember anyway, but that talked about basically the on bottom and maybe given, and it basically gave us the ability starting July the 1st to not have to lease 80%. I mean, it says that we can lease up to 80%, which means that we could keep more than 20%. Right, but a bill before that said we could keep no more than 20%. So this is going to help us with that, with the on bottom leasing a lot, and we'll be able to look at it and see what happens there. The House Bill 602 we'll go over in a minute. Also, the other bill was for the off bottom leases, and that basically took it out from under the counties to have to be able to file a lien against the property or anything. And it basically released them from the liability. So that's the main things that happened. Any questions? We'll go on 602 in a minute if you can. Update on bottom oyster lease. Just to give you an idea, it's still with the Hoyne Group. The Hoyne Group is looking at it. They've talked to us over the last couple of days and asked for more clarification on some things. And I think they have that at a meeting on Friday, I think we had. And basically, we're just waiting for them. They're trying to basically take everybody's application and grade them according to what they feel like, how they qualify as to the ability to be able to do on bottom lease, and to be able to cultivate and do and be able to and what past experience has been, and that. Then they're going to marry that with the financial side that was done, and then we'll turn around and go from that point. But right now, we're no further along than we were, last meeting. So we're just still trying to get forward. Any questions? All right, the 2019-20 Bonnie Carey update. I know that we have quite a bit has been done, over the update on it. We have about, I want to say 91% of the money has been paid out. Is that right, Rick? I think that's what I saw. So that's pretty good when you get 91% of the money being paid out. That's pretty good to what we're at. And so I know it just takes time. And hopefully that the ones that we're working on are something that just where we're trying to get the right clarification from the person that has the asked for the funds, and to make sure that they have 100% qualified. We're spending the federal money, so we want to make sure that we do it 100% the correct way, the same way we do any money, I guess, would be the best way to put that. But right now, we're looking at the 2020. I think we're trying to set a date to have a public hearing. I don't know when that's going to be at this time, but we're going to set a date for the public hearing, and we got about 2.9 million, almost $3 million to be able to put out. So we're looking on that, and we'll see where we're at on that and move forward. It's basically for the oyster and shrimp only. Commercial fishermen, and this is a carryover from 2019 to 2020. And talking about the Bonnie Carey, thank you, Lord, that you didn't have to open it for us. That helps us. I want everybody to understand that the Bonnie Carey, had it have opened this time, we have to look at what we're doing with it. Opening 30 bays for 10 to 14 days probably would not have made any effect at all on us as far as the shrimp, oysters, or anything else. I think it would have pretty much dissipated and everything by the time it got through Lake Pontchartrain. But anytime you don't have to open it, thank you. That's great. And we are working hard. We're working trying to get an idea of what can happen. I know the Lower Mississippi River Commission is working on a study right now as to how we can mitigate opening that Bonnie Carey any more than we have to. And so they're working hard to do it, and I appreciate everybody's efforts. I'm trying to get a meeting, and I think we'll get it with Christy over at the Lake Pontchartrain Commission. And I want to sit down with her and talk and them about exactly what comes through there every day. What are they getting? What is coming into Lake Pontchartrain? What is leaving Lake Pontchartrain coming through the Wrigley's? What's coming to us? and what are we monitoring? So we're working on that, and hopefully we'll get that done shortly. And any questions on the body care? All right, we're trying to set our task force for House Bill 602. I'm waiting on a couple of names to be added. We're basically, the task force was written out in the bill, and it stated that we would have myself or my designee would be Chris Wells, and his designee would be Secretary of Ag, and or his designee to be a member. Then it was also takes tourism in on it. It has. I'm trying to think. I don't have it. I have printed it off, but it didn't get brought down. Huh? Gaming is in on it, and then I guess it's the Restaurant Association, and so that's who we're looking at basically, and we've had some input with some others, but we'll get that looked at. But the House bill itself, we got to make some discussions on that, and basically House Bill 602, reading I printed, I wanted to read it, but anyway, House Bill 602, what it basically says in line 91, and I don't have it in front of me, but it talks about how you must advertise whether it is import or domestic. And just to give you an idea, and we're going to put something out on this, it basically states that how you advertise, you must put it there. If you have it if you advertise something on your menu, you must put import or domestic. If you have it on a billboard, it must be import or domestic. If you put it, whatever you're doing, it must be import or domestic. It's what it puts on there. You don't have to put the country of origin. That's up to your choice. But the way I read the bill, it states that you have no choice but to report it every way. And if you have a placard on your building, you have to put it there. And we'll put some real good guidance out. It's been brought up to my attention by Senator Thompson and some others, but we'll put some guidance out. And if we don't get this task force done in the next week, then we'll put the guidance out prior to that, task force meeting. But I think it's pretty cut and dried. And I don't have it in front of me, but it's House Bill 602, line 91 to where it starts. And I can't, any questions? All right.
Joe, just for clarification on that one, that's all seafood, right? That's fish, shrimp, shellfish.
Yeah, that's any seafood. Right? Any seafood.
Okay.
Any seafood that's imported or domestic, if it's the biggest thing is if it's imported, you have to put the word imported on it. You don't have to put the country, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. We got alligators at Cat Island. Ronnie, you want to talk about them?
Yeah, Joe, a lot of people don't realize it's a huge surprise whenever we tell people that there are gators at the islands. And in the past, they've always been there. I can remember them back whenever I was a kid, but it just really seems to me that the population is getting larger out there. Not only is the population getting larger, but we've got a lot of animals out there that really seem to not have a fear of humans anymore. And I'm speaking directly to Cat Island because that's where I spend the most of my time, but I would have to believe that some of the other islands are probably seeing the same thing we are at Cat. As a matter of fact, I saw a guy posting a video of about a 10-footer at Horn a week or two ago on social media. I have personally been involved in a gator coming after someone while we were floundering. A couple months ago, I talked to a charter boat captain that nearly stepped on one wade fishing last week. I'd just like to find out if there's any way that maybe we could have some type of study to try to get a grasp on what the population is. And obviously we've got a couple for sure that are a nuisance there around Cat, and I don't want to see anybody end up getting hurt out there. I understand that they're a wild animal, but a saltwater environment for an alligator just really seems out of place.
Does the lottery system, the tags, those don't include any of the barrier islands as far as perimeter, do they?
I don't know, Chief. Y'all know about that? Do they? Huh? Okay, we'll check into it. You know, once again, when you say salt water, I mean, obviously you get inside the island there, it's a little bit of fresh water in different places they can get, and it's kind of different. But alligators are adapting just like everything else. And, we got them on Horn Island, we got them at other places. Yeah, Horn had quite a few. We've never had any instance with it, but I tell you, the best I think that we could do is basically sit down with wildlife and talk to them, since that is a wildlife species and not ours. And maybe we could sit down and talk to wildlife and have a meeting and get them to look at that Cat Island. And it's the problem. I know we got quite a few houses out there. Now, I don't know if the fun of feeding an alligator seems to be some in what people are doing, but if for an alligator to get to the point to where they come to you and they usually a reason for it, and it's because they have been rewarded by doing it some way in their lifetime, and so they're looking at the same thing. They're probably trying to look at some way of getting food. Now, when you have a 10-footer coming after you, when you're trying to flounder, that's a different, idea. Ronnie, the only thing I know to do is for us to sit down and go with wildlife. And Rick, why don't you and Patrick, why don't y'all set up a meeting with us and let's get with wildlife and let's see what we can do. And let's talk about it and maybe get them to go look at it and see if there is an issue or something going on. Would that help, Ronnie? Is anything else?
Yeah, that would be great. I'd like to just get the discussion open and, get more eyes on it, and let's just see what we can do about it.
Okay. Yeah, because I know a lot of people fish around there, especially wade fishing in other areas. So let's make sure we do that.
There is a ton of them at Cat Island. I can confirm that, but that we've dealt with for a while. But if you have one chasing after an individual, that's problematic for sure.
Yeah. And once again, probably coming for food, and not necessarily after the individual.
But yeah, I mean, years back, the only thing I had to worry about was a raccoon pulling fish off of my stringer, right? And now we got alligators following us, and that I don't know if you've ever been in the dark, knee deep in the water, and had an alligator come after you, but it's a hair raising experience for sure.
That would be one of them things in that movie, Every Which Way But Loose, or whatever it was, where the guy was laying there and the snake was about to bite him and said, "Feet don't fail me now." That would be the way it would be there, wouldn't it? Feet don't fail me.
Yeah.
All right, we'll look at it. All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Gulf of America Alliance all hands meeting was here May 5 through 8. 450 people. A lot of the federal people were not allowed to be here because of travel restrictions and stuff, but outstanding. Had a great meeting, and the Golden Nugget did an outstanding job and making sure things were done, and so we appreciate that. And I know there's going to be a lot of great things come out of this, and it was very good, and Laura and them run a great program. Red Snapper season opened on Friday, May the 23rd, and it will stay open till July the 6th, I think it is, unless we meet our quota prior to that. Okay. So 82,000, a little over 82,000 pounds this year is what our quota is. So we'll open up 2 per day, starting on the 23rd. Okay. Any questions? We will be closed on Monday, May the 26th, in honor of Memorial Day. But by saying that, I'm sure there will be a lot of fisheries people still working, and all my Marine Patrol will be out there because of Memorial Day. Will still be a lot of people working. So interns start June the 2nd. Well, we got 9. And so a lot of good comes out of that. All right, we got a Governor's Saltwater Fishing Classic. It's coming up on June the 24th and 25th. This is kind of like the Governor's Hunt that they have in Longleaf for the wildlife side of it. This is our side of the foundation to where we do a saltwater fishing tournament and classic. And it's going to be basically snapper and cobia. And so everything's working out. We're going to be housed out of the Golden Nugget there, and the area is what we'll be working. So if you got any questions, you'd like to know more about it, we'll be glad to talk to you about it. It's going to be a pretty good event, try to raise some money for the foundation and to be able to help give scholarships. And one of our major programs that we're trying to work on this year with the foundation is the sewage issue that we have on the Pascagoula River. And there are a lot of the houseboats and other things up and down through there. We're having a lot of sewage leakage into the water, and trying to figure out a way to be able to mitigate that to where we can go in and have some type of barge or something go up and down the river and dump the sewage. They can dump it into that barge, and we can take it and put it in another area and not be back into the Mississippi Sound. Eventually, everything goes there. So, this would be a water quality issue. It's a huge issue. It's going to cost quite a few $1 million. We're trying to get Congress to help us with it too. But that's what a lot of the money is going to go for, that we're going to be able to use this. Okay? Any questions? Derelict vessels, total of 192 derelict vessel cases have been reported since we started tracking. 168 have been removed, 24 are pending removal, and 8 are in court order for removal. All right, let me see what else am I missing here. That pretty much covers, I think that covers 90% of the agency update. Any questions on anything? All right, employment contracts. All right, Brianna and Dylan, we got 2 new ones. I know ain't way going to try to say these last names anymore. So, but one law enforcement and a contract worker. Okay. All right, as far as actions updates.
Good morning, Commissioners and Director. Discussed at the April meeting were 4 motions that the Commission recommended and the Director approved. The first was a motion to approve the no-wake zone extension at the mouth of Percy Miller Park in Jackson County. The second was a motion to approve consistency certification and variance for the restoration of approximately 400 acres of habitat on Deer Island. The third was a motion to deny the City of Ocean Springs request for a concrete walkway on East Beach Drive in Ocean Springs. And the fourth was a motion to approve an exception variance to Title 22, Part 6, Chapter 3, to allow live bait fishing in Bayou Casat Ship Channel for a period of up to 120 days. And that concludes the actions update.
Okay, any questions?
The next steps on that last motion, the live bait fishing, did we, after the 120 days, what are we doing?
I think Tracy's going to
It's
cover
under
that.
I believe it's on the agenda today under K.
Oh,
Is that
okay,
right?
I got it.
Yeah, my bad. Jason's going to give us a report.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Director. Commissioners report. Do any of the commissioners have anything they want to report today? Good. Commissioner Daniels, good. All righty, we'll move on down to Chief Wilkerson for a report on the citations.
Good morning. Getting back to the alligators. Most of the parks are federal. There won't be any permitting on the federal properties, but I do know part of Cat Island is state, and they may shoot at it this year to just in discussion with wildlife, they may start getting some permitting out there. That'd probably help out a little bit. Wish I knew a little more about the alligator stuff, but that's not in. I try to stay in my ballpark.
Yeah, the only thing is if it's getting to be a nuisance because of it, maybe we relocate some, and if there is some that are aggressive, we can look at that. And
We'll
get
definitely help
wildlife.
out with it. So, the report itself is pretty self-explanatory. Nothing jumps out at me. I do know we checked over 1,400 people last month. It's starting to get busy out there, and we are ramping up for Memorial Day. We're all going to be playing that weekend, so I hope everybody stays safe. But I will field any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate the update.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. Looks like we're moving all the way down to Miss Charmaine for Public Affairs.
Good morning. The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources had 35 media mentions since the April MACMR meeting. News items included the Bonnie Carey Spillway potential opening, Mississippi's oyster reefs, shrimp season closing, and the Bonnie Carey Disaster Recovery Program applications opening. Marine Patrol participated in Field Day and Safety, Health, Wellness, Fitness event at Van Cleve Lower Elementary School on May 16th. The Aquaculture Hatchery gave a tour to USM's aquaculture grad class on May 2nd. Marine Fisheries staff provided a booth and the conservationist for the Maritime and Seafood Industry Museum's Wooden and Classic Boat Show this past weekend, which they also received the second place award for the conservationist. On May 3rd, shellfish scientists Madison Parker and Blake Stringfellow launched a new cohort of the off-bottom oyster aquaculture training program. This year marks the 7th cycle of the program, and this year we welcomed 11 new students, bringing the total number of trained farmers to 91 and counting. In Coastal Resources Management, Director Jennifer Whitman gave a presentation to the National Association of Women in Construction on April 17th. On April 25th, Coastal Preserves Bureau Director Randy Wilson and team lead Jake Pettigrew joined the Camp Shelby Joint Forces Training Center Environmental Office to celebrate its annual Arbor Day at Camp Shelby Joint Forces Training Center. The Grand Bay Nears Emmett Carsons took part in Ocean Springs Earth Day on April 19th and Earth Day in River City at Sawmill Landing Park on April 26th. Jennifer Cumbus gave an on-the-road presentation to River Oaks Elementary on April 29th and participated in the 6th grade Science Day at Ocean Springs Upper Elementary School on May 19th. Near staff also participated in the River Jamboree in downtown Riverfront Park in Moss Point on May 3rd. Brianna Andrews participated in Oak Park Science Week in Ocean Springs on May 13th and Community Action of South Mississippi's 60th celebration at Edward Kyatt Memorial Park on May 17th. MDMR had an amazing presence at this year's Gulf of America Alliance All Hands meeting held May 5th through the 8th at the Golden Nugget. MDMR staff gave insightful presentations throughout the week. Director Spraggins gave a welcome and also introduced Governor Reeves the morning of May 6th, and that same evening the agency hosted an off-bottom oyster tour and reception. We hosted the 2025 Mississippi Seafood Cook-Off in Gulfport on May 1st in conjunction with the Gulfport Chamber of Commerce's Taste, Rattle, and Roll at Centennial Plaza. It was a great night with 7 chefs from throughout the state competing for the title, and we're excited to announce that our new king of Mississippi seafood is John Davis from City Grocery in Oxford. He won this year's cook-off with the dish fried Mississippi snapper with crawfish fried farro, fennel and blood orange salad, and Thai basil dressing. He will go on and compete among other U.S. states and territories at the Great American Seafood Cook-Off in New Orleans in August. And then we'd also like to congratulate Director Spraggins, who was recently honored with the Friendship Oak Award, presented by the University of Southern Mississippi at Gulf Park. The award honors individuals who exemplify the enduring values symbolized by the historic Friendship Oak tree. The award is bestowed upon members of the USM community who have demonstrated exceptional service, leadership, or contributions that reflect the spirit of the Friendship Oak. The Friendship Oak Award serves not only as a symbol of individual achievement, but also as a reflection of the enduring spirit and unity that the Friendship Oak tree represents within the USM community.
Any questions? I'd like to congratulate you on that award.
Thank
Well
you.
deserved, Director. Well deserved.
Thank you. It was a surprise, but always an honor to do anything like any type of award like that. So thank you, USM.
All right, moving to marine fisheries. It looks like Jason, you're up first with the Bayou Casat live bait.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm presenting to you proposed changes to Title 22, Part 6, Rules and Regulations for Live Bait and Related Activities. So the proposed change is to revise Chapter 3 to open a portion of Bayou Casat to live bait trawling. So an overview map just to show you where Bayou Casat is on the landscape. Just east of the Pascagoula River and west of Grand Bay area. And this is a proposed northern limit within the bayou. That limit is situated over Bayou Casat Channel B range rear light. which is located a little bit north of Bayou Road. And that latitude, that number that you see there, 30.35922, that is the latitude at that location. And so here is the proposed change to Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is dealing with closure areas, Rule 3.1. I won't read the whole rule there, but basically we will add the underlined language there that states Bayou Casat, south of Channel B, range rear light, latitude 30.359224. And I'll take any questions, and here's a suggested motion. And this would be a permanent change to include the southern portion of that bayou for live bait trawling. So the bayou was originally excluded. If we go back to the overview map, that latitude, if I can get this to work, is about here. And I apologize for not having a better map there, but that latitude is at the northern portion of the industrial area. The boatyard you see there just south is, and the one directly west there is pretty much the northern limit of industrial development within the bayou. And so at that point, moving any further north, it's not currently dredged or maintained by dredging, and it becomes more of a natural channel. All of the areas south of that have been historically dredged and widened and channelized. And then this does include, we did consult with the captains that use this area historically. They do trawl in here all the way up to this point, and so this line was based on conversations we had with the folks that do participate in the fishery.
And
So
all
we,
this is
the
south
line
of the
itself,
effect.
anything north of that is not legal.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be the
And
northern part.
I just got one question, and maybe it's just to put back that picture up again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, I'm trying to find a way that they could be able to designate this and be able to see it where it wouldn't be any questions, because that line's not there. I don't think it's kind of like that football line on the field. We don't ever see it at the
Right.
where your 10 yards are.
So there is a range light there underneath that dot. There's a big platform with a range light on it. And this is on Coast Guard navigation charts as well. It's easily visible from the aerial and from the
Due
water.
straight across to the west of that.
Yeah, it'd be an east-west line from that point. So basically, we put the latitude in the regs as well in case the light's not there. But that light is maintained by the Coast Guard and should be there.
And I'm sure the islands change a little bit too, so it, depending on the water as to how much is there, so it wouldn't be easy to do it with it.
Yeah, we looked at other potential landmarks, and this was really the easiest way to do it, to mark something better than, there wasn't really a road in that area where we could do it that way.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like that line on the football. When I'm watching TV and see that they before they go for the first down, I don't think they show them, do they?
Oh, knowing that this is the really the only opportunity for the bait, the bait fishermen to be able to supply any kind of live shrimp in those winter months is a great move in my opinion.
So is this going to be labeled like no live shrimping beyond this point, or are we just using like the 3 or 4 of them that are utilizing this area are all in understanding of where the line is?
We have talked with them before. What we plan to do is send this out to the whole group, all of the license holders, to make them aware of it. We do have to provide to them copies of the regulations when we do our annual inspections in April. And so being that this change will go into place or go into effect probably in the next 60 days, we'll send it to them either right before it goes into effect or right after. They're still within that 120-day temporary exemption that we voted on last month. But we'll certainly get this to them, everybody in the fleet, not just the few that use that area historically. So they're all aware of the change.
This is for commercial only, right?
This is for live bait license holders only. So commercial harvesters are not allowed to shrimp
Yeah,
in
I'm
this
just
area.
saying this for live bait, but I mean, if a
Yes.
private individual wants to close a cast net, they can still do it, right?
They can still do it, yeah, for personal use.
That's what I was getting
Yeah.
at. I guess that's the way I was trying to put it. Okay.
Yep.
Commissioner Daniels, did you have something? I thought I heard you a moment ago.
I did, but I found it. I saw it in the verbiage in here. My question was making sure it was south of the CSX, and I see it there now. Thank you, though.
10-4. All right. We don't have any more questions. Do we have a motion to take the recommended changes for Title 22?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Oh, you're up again. Shrimp season update, brother.
So this is our annual update that we give to the commission ahead of our opening. And so this is go. Can you take me to the next? All right, there we go. So we do give a little bit of landings information at the first part of this presentation every year, just kind of give you an update on what we're seeing in the fishery. We do see a consistent trend with the value since about 2017, a year over year, lesser and lesser value landings in Mississippi. That is, we do see a little bit of fluctuation in the landings, the poundage. Which is typical, but we see a consistent decline in the value over those years. And this is for all species. So if we look at it by species, and this only includes our dominant two species, white and brown shrimp, we do have a little bit of pink shrimp landings, but due to confidentiality laws, we can't show that just because there's a limited number of dealers and or fishermen that land that species here in Mississippi. But what we see here is a little bit of fluctuation in the landings, but we, kind of more importantly see like a larger predominance of white shrimp being landed here last year. And that's more than likely due to the market price for those shrimp. Those are typically landed at a larger count size. And so what's likely happening here is the fishermen are specifically targeting those bigger shrimp because they know they can get more per pound, so they may not be fishing as heavily in the times of the year when the smaller brown shrimp are here. And then if we look at the same years, the actual value, we see even more dominance there of the white shrimp, and that's probably compounded. More landings of white shrimp, higher price per pound, so we see a little bit more drastic difference there. If we look at historical opening dates, the last 5 years, we have 4 years where we had May openings, which is not super common in the past. You see one in 2011, and then we might have had one or two before 2003. So recent years, we've seen earlier openings, and the average there is still June 6th. And that average is taken since 1975, I believe. We do vessel counts on opening day. We put boats out on the water to interview fishermen and see what they're catching. And we also do aerial survey of the Mississippi Sound and just south of the islands, all of our jurisdictional waters. And last year we had 46 boats open in morning. It's very low compared to what it used to be historically. We don't have the 90s in there, but those numbers were more years were higher than what we see in 2002 and 2003. So we've seen a drastic decline in the effort. And this, of more recent years since 2019, we probably see a lot less effort there because of the same reason that we see more white shrimp landings in the overall landings is they're waiting to target the white shrimp, and those come in later in the summer. They're not catching those typically in great abundance on opening day. So if we look at our license sales, very consistent trend there of less and less being sold for resident commercial licenses as well as non-resident. Last year, we sold a total of 240 resident commercial and 106 non-resident commercial licenses. And then to get into what we do to sample or what we do to open the season, we start our sampling in April, and that sampling goes on through till we open the season. We use a standardized 16-foot otter trawl at 10 historical stations, and we are basically tracking growth of brown shrimp specifically from juvenile to adults. And we do open the season based on a projected projection of when they're going to get to 68 count, which in statute is legal size for shrimp in Mississippi. And that last bullet should say we did begin in mid-April 2025 with this sampling. We ramp up sampling in May to twice a week typically. These are the 10 historical stations that are across the Mississippi Sound. We sample all of these stations with each sampling event. And this is the most recent sample, just some representative shrimp from 6 of the stations. And that red line you see there is a demarcation approximately when they are legal size. Let's see, let's go back. So roughly 100 millimeters, maybe a little bit less, is when they get to 68 count. And so what you're seeing there is we do have a few shrimp, maybe 1 or 2 at these stations that are right at legal size. But we also see a lot of these really small shrimp. If you look towards the bottom of each photo there, and this is just a representative of each sample. We're catching a lot more numbers at most of these sites, and we do weigh and measure a certain amount from each to come up with an average size, but just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what we're seeing right now. We did a project in 2019 all the way through 2024 where we started sampling these historical stations year-round, at least once a month. And so the goal of this project was to evaluate abundance, species composition, size distribution of shrimp in Mississippi waters throughout the year. And so what we were looking to do was to try to get a handle on whether our statutory seasonal closures were still functioning properly. We close the inside waters at the end of December every year, and then we close a portion of our outside waters at the end of April. And those closures are to allow for the juveniles to move into these harvest areas and not be harvested prematurely. And so we want to make sure that those statutes are still appropriate. And so just to give you a brief summary of some of the results we saw from the project, this is all 3 species. We're not really catching a whole lot of pink shrimp here in state waters, but each one of those histograms is a month. And so you see 2019 to 2024, and this is catch per 10-minute trawl. So you're not seeing huge numbers here. The scale is the same across all the months, but you see a pretty large increase in brown shrimp abundance starting in April, but really in May and June, and pretty high compared to white shrimp in those months, and even higher than when we see white shrimp really move into the area in July and August and September. We actually have white shrimp caught here through the end of the year, but we really see a large influx, and these are predominantly, less than 1-year-old shrimp. These are the ones that are being targeted for that same season. So if we look at it by length frequency for the same months, what we see is sometimes we have both species in the area at the same time, but really we see some very seasonal occurrence of brown shrimp, and with white shrimp we see presence year round. And so it's a little bit different. White shrimp habitat utilization is different. They tend to stay inshore longer than brown shrimp. They can survive in lower salinity waters all the way through adult stage. So there is a pretty large difference in, if you look at the scale for May, you see that, our scale goes all the way up to 2,000. And that's because we have a lot higher abundance, but also because we do a lot more sampling in May. So this is total shrimp caught for May for all of those years. but we also are sampling twice a week there. But it still gives you an indication of where the size frequency is. Where's the breakover of how much of them are legal and how much of them are sublegal. And so really the take home here is in April, in May, and even in the first part of June, we see a significant portion of those shrimp that we're collecting that are not legal size. And so if we were to try to take advantage of, for instance, in April, we have some larger white shrimp in the area, we are doing it at the expense of harvesting sublegal brown shrimp. So we have to kind of balance between what species we want to target, and we're still trying to protect this year's crop. So really is to show that things are as they should be. We do close most of these areas where we're seeing these shrimp at the end of December. And so we're trying to protect those shrimp that are showing up in April, May, and early June. So just the conclusions there: year-round access to legal white shrimp must be balanced with seasonal influx of sublegal browns. Legal and sublegal whites do occur in some areas at the same time, so it would be very difficult for us to develop species-specific seasonal closures. And then substantial decreased effort, as we've seen in those previous slides, and gear changes in the fishery negate the additional need, or the need for additional closures. So the gear changes are, a lot of our fleet is moving to skimmers, and they're moving to bigger mesh trawls or bigger mesh in the skimmer nets. And so they're specifically targeting white shrimp up higher in the water column and using bigger mesh, which is allowing a lot of the smaller browns to get through the mesh of the net because they're really worried about getting those bigger shrimp. So if you want to see the full or read the full story, it's in our Coastal Markers newsletter that we send out quarterly, and there's a QR code that'll take you to that article. So just to follow up on current sampling, we do look at some hydrological conditions in Biloxi Bay as an indicator of what things look like for the coming year or shrimp growth. And so in April, we see that it's above average water temperature. The higher the water temperature, typically the quicker the growth is on shrimp, and really optimum growth is reached at 68 degrees Fahrenheit and higher. So we're well above that for April's average. Precipitation, we are well below the average for the 5 years. And this is taken in Biloxi Bay. There was, more rain in other parts of the country, but this is localized conditions. What we're seeing is lower precipitation, and then we also look at salinity. We are a little bit below average salinity there, but the saltier the water, typically the quicker the growth. The optimum salinity there is 10,000 parts per thousand. And that's it. I'll take any questions if y'all have any.
So I do. Now Louisiana's got plenty of estuaries and marsh. Like, where in Mississippi do you find out that the larvae and the juvenile shrimp are developing? Like, I noticed that the sampling stations are all in the sound, but is there any activity in the bays and deeper into the estuaries?
There is. Let me go back to that map if I can find it here. So we do year-round sampling with other programs where we're using a liner net, and in the bays we're using a smaller net. And we see these brown shrimp showing up in January and February and March, typically as far up as all the way up into Menard Bayou for a good example. So we've got stations that go all the way up into the bayou at Gulfport Lake. And so we randomly select these stations. We do it year round. And we are seeing we do see some post larvae in that liner net occasionally, but that net is not specifically designed to pick up post larvae. But we are definitely seeing juveniles. And so when I say juveniles, like 20 millimeters, these are small shrimp, and those are typically found north of the CSX where there's no harvest commercially or for live bait. We do sample in Bayou Caddy, Jordan River, St. Louis Bay. We see the same thing across the coast here. And so these are the areas that we're typically seeing the smaller shrimp. By the time they're moving out, they're a little larger. Right now, we're seeing some that are still sublegal, obviously out front, but we're not seeing post larvae out there and really small juveniles.
So what percentage in Mississippi is caught on the skimmer versus the otter trawls?
I'd have to look at those numbers. I would say it is definitely increasing. I could get those numbers to you, but it would probably be half if I had to guess.
Okay.
So it's when we collect trip ticket data, we're collecting information on location. And so sometimes we're able to determine, just because shrimp's landed here, it may not be landed from our waters, but that helps us get an indication on which of those vessels are actually operating in our area that are reporting landings, and we'd have to kind of dig into it a little bit to get a better handle on that.
So if we had like any communication with, like, I noticed that the actual boat activity was down to like 46. Like, is there regular communication with them about, like, are they happy with the season opening? Like, do they think that they're missing out? Like, are they getting all that they can?
We get calls from them this time of year. Generally, they're calls about, when is the season going to open? We haven't had any negative feedback, recently on opening dates. The biggest thing we've heard in the past was accessibility to ice for the inshore boats, and making sure that we try to accommodate that as best as possible. That's really, the biggest thing we've heard as of late is that. I think a lot of the boats, you see what the numbers are for the opening date, how low the participation is there. A lot of them are waiting until later in the summer to get out and really try, because that's when they're catching the whites.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I'm just, just looking at the number of boats. I mean, it's declining all across the Gulf. And, as a state permit holder, just want to make sure that they get whatever shrimp they can when they can.
Right.
Just to keep those guys in business, because you're going to see a lot of the big, larger vessels. They're going to come in behind the islands, off of that 9 and 12 mile mark over there. And, hey, they can go to Mississippi, they can go to Bayou La Battery, but all of that shrimp in the Sound is, they're waiting for that stuff to migrate past the islands and go swoop them up. I just want to make sure that the, those skimmer boats are remaining viable.
Yeah, we try to get it open as soon as they're hitting legal size. We're not, because we do realize that they move, especially on the moons. So we do pay attention to that.
Thank you.
It looks like the trend for everything is based off of the number of boats, based off the decline in the price, the sale price, right? Over the years, if you look at it kind of close.
That's correct. Yeah, I think
Quantity of shrimp being consistent. If we had 1,000 vessels back to when we had 1,000.
so. We have looked at catch per unit effort based on the trip ticket data. We do see as much, if not more, catch per day. What we have found out is there's just less effort. They're just not going. So that's why you see less landings. It's not that there's less abundance. We did see a decline in brown shrimp abundance after the spillway opening, a significant decline for a few years there, but that looks like that has come back. But it's more of a, for the folks that aren't selling wholesale, the ones that are selling, peddling shrimp, they are limiting the amount of time on the water because they cannot move more than a certain amount of shrimp within a day or two off the boat. So just because they're not landing as much as they used to doesn't mean that the shrimp aren't there. They're just not fishing as long.
A good reason to buy Gulf Fresh.
100%.
Yes. A very good reason right here. And you're seeing this as we talk about it. When you talk about the numbers, when Jason just told you there's plenty of shrimp. The problem is when you can't sell it and make money, then it's not worth the effort. We've got to be able to put it on the market. We've got to be able to get it on the market in our restaurants and everything, and in our stores, in our seafood markets, everywhere else. We got to get it out there. We got to get the Gulf of America fresh shrimp. And that's what we need. And, if we start pushing this hard enough, I think maybe we can help do this. I know it's took such a decline in, from 1,800 down to 46 is a lot, but we can get there, and I believe people will still do the business if we'll find a way to help them get there. So let's buy Gulf Fresh.
In general, we have had a lot of inquiries due to the recent menu labeling laws in Mississippi and Alabama. So it's definitely working.
That's good to hear. Any other questions? All right. Trevor, it looks like we got a record for a Vermilion.
And it's not Brody.
Yeah, we've got a new saltwater finfish record for Vermilion snapper. This is a species that's near and dear to my heart with the work I've done on them. But the old record was 5 pounds, 3 ounces. The new record is 6 pounds, 9.6 ounces. So really blew it out of the water. In the case of this one, it's Mr. Joseph Long. And there's a picture of the fish. And there is Joseph with that fish. And all we'll need is a motion to adopt that new state record.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you, Trevor. All right, Aisha, update on some stormwater projects.
Good morning. Back in March, I talked a little bit about some of the stormwater projects that we have going on. And so I wanted to update y'all. So the project at Creole Elementary, the first phase of it has been completed. And so this, as you recall, is what we call green infrastructure. So these are projects that are designed to have green components, grasses and trees and things like that, but they work with traditional gray infrastructure stormwater projects. So your regular ditches and culverts and things like that. So these things are connected. And what these green infrastructure does is it slows the water down so that it can soak into the ground and reduce street flooding. This is really important in Moss Point, where there's a lot of street flooding. And so we are also monitoring these projects to understand what quantity of water they're capturing and also what nutrients or pollutants they're capturing. And so there were 5 components that were installed. One was about 100 feet, one was about 70 feet, and then there were 3 smaller ones that are in these little curb islands. So these work together and the monitoring devices have been installed. So this project is going to have a phase 2. And part of the reason it's able to have a phase 2 is that we have at the NEAR have leveraged with our partners at Coastal Resources and with external funders to be able to just expand what we're able to do at this school. So Creole Elementary School is on Martin Luther King Boulevard, and it's a place in Moss Point that floods on a very small amount of rain. And we knew that this school flooded to the point where parents couldn't pick up their kids. They would have to put the kids on a bus and bus them to higher ground for their parents to be able to pick them up. So we knew that this was a really important place to work in Moss Point. So you can see, does this have a laser on it? No. You can see the drawings of where the rain gardens have been installed, and so those have what you just saw. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to work around the school to prevent flooding near the school. So there is water that's coming into some of the classrooms. So we're going to use gutters and drains to pull that water away from the building and direct it into these green infrastructure components. We're going to remove some bushes and do some grading just to get the components that we've installed to work a little better for keeping the water away from the school and out of the building. These types of projects in Moss Point are a very good solution to urban flooding. And so what we're doing is we're kind of stepwise looking at project by project places where we can do this. Each project itself is relatively small, but if we put multiple projects in the city, we think we can alleviate the street flooding. So the next project that we've been working on, and this is from a grant from NOAA for the planning, is the Frederick Street Stormwater Park. And so what you're looking at are the plans for the park. So this is adjacent to a church, and the church is willing to sell their property to the city of Moss Point. And so what we've done is a phase 1 feasibility study to understand if this is even possible. And we've done concept drawings that you're looking at here. The city's in negotiation with the church over the purchasing the property, and we're seeking implementation funding both for the purchase and for constructing this park. So this church didn't want to sell this particular piece of property for development because they wanted it to enhance the quality of life in the community. And it also has this dual function of not just enhancing the quality of life, but it could also help alleviate some of the street flooding just because of the location where it is and the grade around that area. So you could see that in the larger drawing or the overview. So one of the things that the NEAR has done that's been really instrumental in this is that the NEAR is essentially acting as a hub for coastal management in this area. So that's one of our things that we work on is improving coastal management. And and we knew that there was a lot of people and a lot of different organizations that were going into Moss Point wanting to work on these problems. And so we kind of inserted ourselves as the center of that and as the hub for that. And one of the key ways we did this was we created a Connecting Improved Stormwater Management group. So this group meets quarterly, and it involves the city officials, the city planners, city managers, both from Moss Point and Pascagoula. It involves the county, Jackson County, the project managers and planners from Jackson County. Some of the Jackson County supervisors attend this meeting regularly. Our partners from CRM attend, and sometimes we have our other external partners like NOAA and EPA that will attend these meetings as well. We're looking to partner with DEQ on some of this stuff, but what we've done is create this hub of communication so that everybody knows what everybody's doing and we know how to implement these projects without duplicating effort, which I think is really important when you're working on something this complex. Do you have any questions?
Ooh, I'm a big believer in the stormwater retention, you know, just being in this watching all the development and then all the hardscapes and then whatever comes out of that property is making it into our storm drains, into our streams, our rivers, into the sound. It's just what is it picking up on the way when it's traveling?
Yeah, exactly. DEQ is very interested in that as well for nutrient reduction. Because that's what happens is that if you don't have any kind of, if you don't slow it down and if you don't transform it, that's another thing that green infrastructure does is the plants that are there actually transform the nutrients into plant material. And so they reduce that nutrient load. We're talking about nitrogen and phosphorus in the water, that if it goes off into the streams and into the waterways, it can cause algae blooms. It can cause other sorts of problems like that. So if you stop it before it gets there and if you transform it, then you get cleaner water going into your waterways, which is just helpful across the board. I really like the fact that it improves the quality of life in these places. Like having a park at Frederick Street is going to be a big improvement for that area. If you've ever visited that area of Moss Point, this will be a place where people can walk. There's going to be places where they can exercise. There's going to be places for kids to play. That's what our cities need.
You know, I learned long ago from a old retired two-star General Kaiser, who was the number 2 guy in the Corps of Engineers. He told me that anything that touches the ground gets in the water system.
That's right.
So it gets in there somehow, some way, and it gets into the water system, and it all filters to one way. And, you know, most everything goes to a major body of water somewhere.
Yeah.
And anything that y'all are doing here, it's going to stop something from getting into the Mississippi Sound.
Yep.
And, you know, it's great. I think you're doing a fantastic job. I do appreciate it. And Moss Point's a great city to work with and
Yeah.
to be able to do that. And they're so appreciative.
Yeah.
They're appreciative of the people helping them and being able to do things for them. And I tell you what, it's working with the mayor there and the others. They're very appreciative to be able to have the help. And that's a beautiful city.
Yeah. That city has.
And just like what you said with the kids, you know, having to bus them just to get the parents where they can pick them up. Come
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
You know,
I mean,
there's
that's
a lot of
really-
things we can do.
Yeah.
And that Pascagoula River is going to be a big thing one day.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the only undammed river in the United States of America.
Yep. Absolutely.
Only one. And we've got it. We need to protect it. So thank you.
Right. You're welcome.
Good job. Thank you. Any other business? We don't have any public comments, do we?
I don't think we have any, TJ, you don't have anything public comment?
All right. Appreciate everyone. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Bye.
How are you?